Welcome to a tale unlike any other, where elegance meets deception, and hearts collide in the most unexpected ways. Follow a brilliant young instructor at a renowned academy, sculpting the elite in poise, as she meets a billionaire posing as a bumbling heir. Their dance of wit and hidden truths weaves a heartfelt saga, redefining true refinement. Will her teachings shape him, or will his ruse reshape her world? Packed with twists, this tale will keep you hooked until the end. Where are you listening from? Drop your city in the comments and hit subscribe with the bell for more spellbinding stories. Rate it 0 to 10 when it's over. You'll be eager to share your thoughts after the final reveal. The grand hall of Eclat Finishing Academy shimmered under crystal chandeliers, their light dancing across polished marble floors. For centuries, this institution had sculpted the elite, tycoons, royalty, and the newly minted rich into paragons of grace. Anna Lemoyne stood at the front of the lecture room, her posture impeccable, her auburn hair swept into a flawless chignon. At 28, she was the Academy's rising star, a former scholarship student whose brilliance had earned her a coveted faculty position. Yet, beneath her poised exterior, burned a quiet disdain for the nouveau riche, those brash upstarts who flaunted wealth without finesse. She'd seen too many parades through these halls, their gaudy displays clashing with the refined elegance she revered. Today marked the start of a new cohort, and Anna's sharp green eyes scanned the incoming students as they filed in, their designer bags and tailored suits screaming privilege. Her syllabus, a masterwork of etiquette, conversation, dining, dress, diplomacy, and poise, lay neatly on the podium. She adjusted her silk blouse, ready to mold this batch into something worthy of the Academy's legacy. But as the heavy oak door creaked open one last time, her composure faltered. He slouched in late, a man who looked as if he'd wandered off a hiking trail. His faded jacket hung loosely over a wrinkled shirt, its collar askew. Scuffed sneakers squeaked against the floor, and a worn leather satchel dangled from one shoulder. His dark hair was tousled, a faint stubble shadowing his jaw. The room fell silent, students exchanging smirks. Anna's lips tightened. Another one, she thought, her bias flaring. A new money type, no doubt, thrust into wealth and clueless about its demands. "Name?" she asked, her voice crisp, cutting through the murmurs. "Julian Moreau," he replied, his tone casual, almost amused. He straightened slightly, revealing a glimpse of broad shoulders, but his slouch returned as if by design. His hazel eyes met hers, bold, yet unreadable, sparking a flicker of unease in Anna. There was something off. "You're late, Mr. Moreau," she said, her words clipped. "At Eclat, punctuality is the first mark of respect. Take a seat." Julian nodded, a half-smile tugging at his lips, and shuffled to a chair at the back. The other students, a mix of heirs and socialites, barely concealed their disdain. Anna launched into her introduction, her voice commanding as she outlined the Academy's mission: to forge elegance from raw ambition. "Many of you," she said, her gaze lingering on Julian, "may find wealth has opened doors, but only refinement keeps them open." She distributed name cards, a ritual to memorize her students. When she reached Julian, he fumbled the card, dropping it with an exaggerated whoops that drew snickers. Anna's jaw tightened. Deliberate, she thought, though she couldn't place why. "Mr. Moreau," she said, handing him another, "do try to handle things with care. First impressions are rarely forgiving." He flashed a sheepish grin, but his eyes held a glint of mischief. Anna turned away, her instincts prickling. She began the first lesson, the art of introductions. "A proper greeting," she explained, "is a balance of warmth and restraint. Watch." She demonstrated, gliding toward a student with a practiced smile, her handshake firm, yet graceful. "Now, pair up and try." The room buzzed with awkward attempts, But Julian's effort was a spectacle. He thrust out his hand to a prim heiress, gripping too hard. His "pleasure to meet you," loud and jarring. The heiress recoiled, and Anna swooped in. "Mr. Moreau," she said, her tone icy. "This isn't a tavern. Modulate your voice, extend your hand gently like so." She demonstrated, her fingers brushing his briefly. His skin was warm, his grip steady despite his act, and Anna pulled back, unsettled. "Got it," Julian said, his voice softer now. But that maddening half-smile lingered. Anna moved on, pairing him with another student, but her eyes kept drifting back. He was playing a role, clumsy, unpolished, but his movements betrayed a quiet confidence. The way he adjusted his stance, the fleeting sharpness in his gaze. It didn't add up. As the class ended, students gathered their things, chattering about upcoming galas. Julian lingered, slinging his satchel over his shoulder. "Tough first day," he said, catching Anna's eye. "Hope I didn't mess up too bad." "You'll need to work harder, Mr. Moreau," she replied, stacking her notes. "Wealth without grace is just noise," he chuckled, low and warm. "Guess I've got a lot to learn then." He sauntered out, leaving Anna staring at the door. She didn't know who Julian Moreau was, but one thing was clear. He was no ordinary student, and as she tidied the room, a single thought gnawed at her. What game is he playing? Unbeknownst to Anna, Julian was no stranger to power. A billionaire tech mogul, he'd built empires in silicon and steel, his name whispered in boardrooms worldwide. Invited to fund Eclat's rebranding, he'd chosen to enroll incognito, curious about its methods and hungry for authenticity in a world of facades. As he stepped into the crisp morning air, he smiled to himself. Anna Lemoine was sharp, formidable, and utterly unaware of the challenge she just met. This was going to be interesting. Anna Lemoine's encounter with Julian Moreau lingered like a splinter in her mind, his clumsy facade clashing with the sharp glint in his hazel eyes. She pushed the thought aside, arranging her notes with surgical precision. Today's lesson would test her students' mettle, mastering the labyrinth of table manners and conversational finesse. If Julian was playing a game, she'd expose his limits. Students trickled in, their chatter a mix of nerves and bravado. Julian arrived last, his faded jacket replaced by a slightly less rumpled blazer, though his tie hung crookedly, as if mocking the academy's standards. He flashed Anna a disarming grin, settling at the back. Her eyes narrowed, but she refused to let him unsettle her. "Good morning," she began, her voice a velvet blade. "Today, we navigate the art of dining and dialogue skills that reveal your character more than any title or fortune." She launched into the lesson, her movements fluid as she demonstrated the hierarchy of cutlery. "Each utensil has a purpose," she said, lifting a silver fish fork. "Use the wrong one, and you signal ignorance. Start from the outside, work inward." The students nodded, scribbling notes. But Julian leaned back, his pen idle, as if he'd memorized the rules in his sleep. Anna's pulse quickened. Too relaxed, she thought, marking him for scrutiny. The class paired off for a mock conversation exercise, practicing tactful responses to delicate scenarios. Anna wove through the pairs, correcting posture and tone. When she reached Julian, he was mid-sentence with a nervous heiress, his voice low and measured. "When someone boasts about their wealth," he said, "pivot to their passions. It keeps the talk human." The heiress beamed, disarmed. Anna paused, caught off guard by his insight. "Adequate," she said curtly, though her mind raced. Where did that come from? The centerpiece of the day was a simulated 7-course dinner, a gauntlet of etiquette under pressure. The long mahogany table gleamed with crystal and porcelain, each place setting a maze of forks, knives, and spoons. Anna briefed the class. "You'll dine as if at a state banquet. Every move, every choice matters." The students paled, But Julian's eyes sparked with something like amusement, a predator sizing up a familiar hunt. As the first course, a delicate consommé arrived. Anna circled like a hawk. One student fumbled a soup spoon, and another spoke too loudly. Julian, however, was flawless. He tilted his bowl subtly, sipped without a sound, and engaged his neighbor, a tech scion, in effortless banter about art, not assets. Anna's pen froze over her clipboard. His precision was uncanny, his charm disarming. She stepped closer, catching his eye. "Mr. Moreau," she said, her tone laced with suspicion. "Your form is surprisingly polished." "Just following your lead, Ms. Lemoyne," he replied, his voice smooth, a faint smile tugging at his lips. The words were innocent, but his gaze held a challenge, daring her to probe deeper. Anna's cheeks warmed, and she turned away, furious at her lapse. He's no novice, she thought, her instincts screaming. But who was he? The main course, a perfectly seared quail, tested the student's knife skills. Julian wielded his utensils with surgical grace, his cuts precise, his posture relaxed yet regal. When a student across the table dropped a fork, Julian slid his own over, murmuring, "Happens to the best of us." The gesture was subtle, but Anna caught it, her suspicion deepening. He wasn't just skilled, he was anticipating the room's rhythm. The lesson shifted to conversational finesse, a role play where students deflected intrusive questions. Anna posed a challenge. Your host asks about your sudden wealth. Respond without arrogance or evasion. Julian's turn came, and he leaned forward, his voice warm but firm. "I'd rather hear about their journey," he said. "Success is just a moment. Stories are what last." The room stilled, his words resonating. Anna's pen hovered, her breath catching. Too perfect, she thought, her mind racing to reconcile his act with his skill. As the class ended, students gathered their notes, buzzing about the ordeal. Julian lingered, adjusting his crooked tie with deliberate clumsiness. "Tough one today," he said, catching Anna's gaze. "Hope I didn't botch it too badly." "You managed," she replied, her voice cool but her eyes searching. "But don't get complacent, Mr. Moreau. This course only gets harder," he nodded, his smile enigmatic. Looking forward to it. As he left, Anna stared at her clipboard, his name circled in red. She didn't know his game, but she'd unravel it. Julian, meanwhile, stepped into the academy's sunlit courtyard, his billionaire's mind alive with calculations. Anna's rigor, her passion. It was more than he'd expected. She wasn't just teaching etiquette, she was forging respect. And that, he realized, was a challenge worth meeting. The air in the lecture hall crackled with tension as Anna Lemoyne prepared for her next challenge. Julian Moreau's uncanny mastery of etiquette gnawed at her, his polished moves clashing with his bumbling persona. She'd circled his name in red, a silent vow to unmask whatever game he played. Today's lesson, diplomatic conduct and poise, would push her students to their limits, and Anna intended to watch Julian like a hawk. If he slipped, she'd catch it. The classroom buzzed as students settled, their designer notebooks open, pens poised. Julian sauntered in, his blazer now pressed, but his tie still askew, a calculated flaw that made Anna's eyes narrow. He took his usual seat at the back, flashing her a grin that was equal parts charm and defiance. She ignored it, launching into her lecture with steely focus. "Diplomacy," she declared, her voice cutting through the room, "is the art of influence without offense. Today, you'll learn to navigate conflict with grace and command a room with your presence." She began with a role play, defusing a heated social scenario. "Imagine a gala where two guests clash over politics," she said. "Your task is to redirect without taking sides." The students paired off, their attempts clumsy but earnest. Anna wove through the pairs, correcting posture and phrasing. When she reached Julian, He was mid-exchange with Clara, a haughty heiress whose sharp tongue had already flustered her partner. Clara sneered. "Some people don't belong in our circles, don't you agree?" Julian's response was swift, his tone warm but firm. "I'd say circles expand when we listen. What's a cause you're passionate about?" Clara blinked, disarmed, and launched into a spiel about charity. Anna froze, her clipboard forgotten. His deflection was textbook, his delivery effortless. No one pivots that smoothly, she thought, her suspicion flaring. She stepped closer. "Well done, Mr. Moreau," she said, her voice cool. "Almost too well done." "Just trying to keep up," he replied, his hazel eyes meeting hers with a flicker of amusement. Anna turned away, her pulse quickening. He was a puzzle, and she hated puzzles she couldn't solve. The lesson escalated to a group exercise, a mock diplomatic summit. Each student represented a fictional dignitary, tasked with negotiating a cultural exchange while maintaining decorum. Anna assigned roles, placing Julian as a mediator, a deliberate test. "Your job," she told him, "is to ensure consensus without dominating." His nod was casual, but his eyes gleamed as if relishing the challenge. The summit began, and chaos erupted. Clara, playing a stubborn ambassador, derailed the talks with a barbed remark about another student's inferior proposal. The room tensed, voices rising. Anna watched, pen poised, ready to intervene. But Julian leaned forward, his presence shifting the air. "Let's pause," he said, his voice calm but commanding. "We're here to build bridges, not walls. Ambassador Clara, your focus on tradition is vital. How can we blend it with innovation?" His words were a lifeline, and Clara, caught off guard, softened, offering a compromise. The group rallied and the talks were back on track. Anna's pen stilled. Julian hadn't just mediated, he'd reshaped the room's energy with a diplomat's finesse. "Who is he?" she wondered, her mind racing. She called a break, her gaze lingering as he chatted with classmates, his easy laughter masking the precision she'd just witnessed. The day's final challenge was a practice gala, a glittering simulation in the ballroom. Chandeliers cast a golden glow over silk-draped tables, and a string quartet played softly. Anna briefed the students. "Tonight, your guests at a high-stakes event. Network, dance, and embody poise." She paired them for the opening waltz, assigning Julian to herself, a strategic move to test him up close. As the music swelled, Julian offered his hand, his grip steady, his posture flawless. They moved into the waltz and Anna's breath caught. His steps were effortless, his lead gentle yet assured, guiding her through spins with a grace that felt familiar. "You've danced before," she said, her voice low, searching his face. "Once or twice," he replied, his smile cryptic. Their eyes locked, and for a moment, the room faded. The music, the students, the stakes. Anna's heart thudded, her cheeks warming. She broke eye contact, focusing on her steps, but his presence lingered, warm and unshakable. The dance ended, and Anna stepped back, her composure fraying. "Adequate," she said, though her voice wavered. Julian bowed, a spark of mischief in his eyes. "High praise," he teased, and she turned away, furious at her lapse. After the gala, as students departed, Anna stayed to tidy the ballroom, her mind in a storm. Julian lingered, gathering stray programs. "Long night," he said, his tone soft. "You make it look easy, teaching all this." "It's not about ease," she replied, stacking chairs. "It's about respect, for others, for the craft." She paused, meeting his gaze. "Why are you here, Mr. Moreau?" "You don't need this." He hesitated, then offered a half-truth. "Maybe I want to be better, not just richer." His sincerity disarmed her, and for a moment, she saw not the enigma, but a man searching for something real. As he left, Anna stood alone, the ballroom silent. Julian was no ordinary student. She was sure of it now. But what drove him? And why did his presence unsettle her so deeply? Outside, Julian walked into the night, his billionaire's mind alight. Anna's passion, her integrity. It was pulling him in, blurring the lines of his carefully crafted ruse. This game, he realized, was becoming dangerously personal. Tonight was the Gala of Excellence, the Academy's crown jewel, where students showcased their polished skills before an audience of dignitaries, alumni, and media. Anna Lemoyne, resplendent in a sapphire gown that hugged her frame, stood at the helm, her every gesture radiating authority. Weeks of orchestrating this event had honed her nerves to a razor's edge, but Julian Moreau's enigmatic presence gnawed at her focus. His diplomatic finesse and effortless waltz had left her rattled, her suspicions about his true motives simmering. Tonight, she vowed, he'd face the ultimate test under the gala's unforgiving spotlight. Guests swept in, a constellation of power, ambassadors, philanthropists, and CEOs, their diamonds and cufflinks glinting. Anna greeted each with a smile that masked her tension, her eyes darting to her students, mingling among them. Julian, in a tailored black tuxedo that erased his usual disheveled charm, moved through the crowd with a panther's grace. His tie, for once, was flawless, his posture regal. He nodded to a media tycoon, his conversation too low to hear, but captivating. Anna's grip on her clipboard tightened. He belongs here, she thought, a realization that both intrigued and infuriated her. The evening began with a formal dinner, a labyrinth of etiquette where every glance held weight. Anna had choreographed the seating, placing Julian beside a notoriously prickly diplomat, Madame Leclerc, to push his limits. As the first course, a delicate artichoke velouté arrived. Anna patrolled the tables, her sapphire eyes scanning for errors. Her students performed admirably, spoons tilted correctly, conversations hushed. Julian, however, was a revelation. He disarmed Madame Leclerc with a question about her art patronage, his French accent impeccable, drawing a rare chuckle. Anna paused, her pen hovering. He's not just surviving, he's commanding. The program shifted to student demonstrations, a showcase of poise. A trio performed a flawless diplomatic toast, earning applause. Anna introduced each act, her voice a beacon of calm, though her gaze kept drifting to Julian. He sat among his peers, his expression attentive yet detached, as if analyzing the room's undercurrents. She pushed the thought aside, cueing the next segment, a student-led art auction to fund scholarships. Julian bid discreetly on a watercolor, his paddle raised with quiet confidence, securing it for a sum that drew murmurs. Anna's brow furrowed. Why the restraint, she wondered. He could outbid the room if he chose. The gala's highlight was a surprise, a behind-the-scenes video compiled by the students, a light-hearted glimpse into their training. The screen flickered to life, and Anna's heart sank as her voice echoed, "Master this, Mr. Moreau, and no one will call you a tasteless nouveau riche." The clip showed her coaching Julian, her tone firm but encouraging, as he fumbled a bow with exaggerated clumsiness. The audience roared with laughter, the mood infectious. Anna's cheeks burned, her smile frozen. It was meant as a joke, but the public jab stung, especially with Julian's eyes on her from across the room. He grinned, raising a glass in mock salute, and she looked away, mortified. As the video ended, the mood shifted. A silver-haired industrialist, mid-conversation with a journalist, leaned forward. "Remarkable that Julian Moreau himself took this course undercover," he said, his voice carrying. The room stilled, glasses pausing mid-sip, whispers rippling like wildfire. Anna's clipboard slipped, her breath catching. Julian Moreau? The name struck like a thunderbolt. Not a sudden heir, but the billionaire tech titan, Eclat's rumored benefactor. Her mind raced, replaying every critique she'd leveled at him, every lecture on refinement delivered to a man who owned empires. The crowd's eyes darted to Julian, who remained composed, though a flicker of unease crossed his face. Madame Leclerc, seated beside him, gasped. "You're that Moreau?" she asked, her voice a mix of awe and disbelief. Julian nodded, his smile tight. "Guilty," he said, the words soft but resonant. Anna stood rooted, her sapphire gown suddenly heavy, her world tilting. She'd schooled a billionaire in etiquette, mistaking him for a tactless upstart. Humiliation crashed over her, sharp and suffocating. The gala's host, sensing the shift, seized the moment. "Mr. Moreau, a word for our guests?" he called, thrusting a microphone forward. Julian rose, his tuxedo catching the light, and strode to the stage with a calm that belied the chaos. Anna's heart pounded as he faced the crowd, his gaze briefly meeting hers. "I owe an apology," he began, his voice steady, "to Ms. Lemoyne, whose lessons I took under pretenses. I enrolled to understand Eclat's heart, not to deceive. Her teaching showed me that etiquette isn't wealth's veneer, it's respect's language." The audience leaned in, captivated. Anna's throat tightened, his words piercing her defenses. He praised her integrity, her passion, each sentence a lifeline she wasn't ready to grasp. "Eclat," he concluded, "is more than polish, it's purpose. Thank you, Ms. Lemoyne, for reminding me." Applause erupted, but Anna barely heard it, her mind a storm of anger and awe. He'd lied, yet his sincerity felt real. "Why?" she thought, her fists clenching. As Julian stepped down, guests swarmed him, their questions a buzzing haze. Anna slipped to the ballroom's edge, her composure fraying. She'd been outplayed, her authority undermined before the elite. Yet his speech lingered, a riddle she couldn't solve. Was it gratitude or manipulation? The night wore on, but Anna's focus was gone, her thoughts tethered to the man who'd turned her world upside down. Julian Moreau's unmasking as a billionaire had shattered Anna's carefully constructed world. Each clap for his speech, a fresh wound to her pride. She'd lectured a titan on refinement, blind to his truth, and the sting of humiliation clung to her like damp silk. As guests dispersed into the velvet night, Anna lingered in the shadows, her sapphire gown a stark contrast to the turmoil within. She avoided Julian's gaze, his words, praising her integrity, echoing in her mind. A puzzle she couldn't trust. Was it sincerity or a billionaire's ploy? The next morning, the Academy's halls felt suffocating. Anna moved through her duties with mechanical precision, her smile a mask for the students who whispered about the gala's bombshell. Julian's absence from class offered fleeting relief, but his presence haunted her, his effortless waltz, his diplomatic finesse, now glaring signs of a hidden empire. She buried herself in grading, her pen slashing through papers, but her thoughts churned. Why the charade, she wondered, her anger warring with an unsettling flicker of admiration for his audacity. By noon, the Academy's courtyard beckoned, its quiet paths a refuge. Anna sat on a stone bench, a half-finished coffee cooling in her hands, when a young student, Lily, approached. The girl's wide eyes sparkled with mischief. "Ms. Lemoyne," she chirped, "I saw Mr. Moreau watching you at the gala. I think he likes you." Anna's cup nearly slipped, her cheeks flushing. "Nonsense," she said, her voice sharper than intended. "He's a student. Run along." Lily scampered off, but her words lodged in Anna's chest, stirring a warmth she fought to suppress. He lied, she reminded herself, but the memory of his steady gaze during their waltz betrayed her resolve. The day dragged, each tick of the clock amplifying her unrest. Anna avoided the faculty lounge, dreading colleagues' questions about Julian's deception. Instead, she retreated to her office, a cramped sanctuary lined with etiquette manuals. As she sorted files, a cream envelope slid under the door, her name scrawled in elegant ink. Her pulse quickened. She tore it open, revealing a handwritten note from Julian. Ms. Lemoyne, I owe you more than an apology. Please join me for dinner tonight. A simple meal, as equals. Let me explain. Julian. The words were earnest, but Anna's fists clenched. Equals, she thought, scoffing. He'd played her for a fool. She tossed the letter aside, but it drew her eyes like a magnet. Part of her wanted to confront him, to hurl her anger and demand answers. Another part, smaller, quieter, yearned to hear him out, to unravel the man behind the mask. By dusk, curiosity won. She slipped into a modest black dress, her reflection in the mirror, defiant, yet vulnerable. One dinner, she muttered, steeling herself. Then he's out of my life. The restaurant, a cozy bistro tucked in a cobbled alley, was worlds away from Eclat's opulence. Fairy lights twinkled above wooden tables, and the scent of fresh bread warmed the air. Julian waited at a corner booth, his tailored suit traded for a simple sweater and jeans, his face unguarded. He rose as Anna approached, his hazel eyes searching hers. You came, he said, relief softening his voice. I wasn't sure you would. Don't flatter yourself, Anna replied, sliding into the seat. I'm here for answers, not charm. Her tone was ice, but her heart thudded, betraying her. Julian nodded, undeterred, and gestured to the waiter. They ordered grilled fish, roasted vegetables, nothing extravagant. The simplicity disarmed her, a stark contrast to the billionaire she now knew him to be. I lied to you, Julian began, his voice low, steady. I enrolled at Eclat to see its soul, not to mock it. I'm funding its future, but I wanted to understand its heart. Your classes, they showed me more than I expected. He leaned forward, his gaze unwavering. You teach respect, not pretense. That's rare. Anna's fingers tightened around her glass. You could have told me, she said, her voice sharp. Instead, I lectured you like a novice, thinking you were some upstart. Do you know how that feels? Like a fool, he admitted, wincing. I didn't plan to hurt you, but Anna... He paused, his use of her name startlingly intimate. Your passion, your fire. It woke something in me. I'm not just for your lessons, I'm falling for you. Her breath caught, the words a spark in the quiet of her anger. You don't know me, she said, but her voice faltered, her defenses cracking. You played a game with my trust. I did, he said, his eyes raw. And I'll spend every day making it right if you'll let me. No games, no masks, just a man who sees you. The sincerity in his voice pierced her, a lifeline she both craved and feared. She looked away, the bistro's warmth blurring as tears pricked her eyes. Dinner passed in a fragile truce, their conversation shifting to safer ground. Her love for teaching, his quiet philanthropy. Each word peeled back a layer, revealing a man shaped not by wealth, but by a hunger for meaning. As they stepped into the night, Anna's heart was a battlefield, anger, hurt, and a dangerous hope colliding. Thank you, she said, her voice soft, but I need time. Julian nodded, his smile tinged with patience. I'll wait. As he walked away, Anna stood under the starlit sky, her resolve wavering. The billionaire had bared his soul, but could she trust it? The answer eluded her, a riddle for another day. The cobblestone streets glowed under the moonlight as Anna Lemoyne walked home from the bistro, Julian Moreau's confession ringing in her ears. His raw sincerity had cracked her defenses, but trust remained a fragile thread, stretched thin by his deception. She clutched her coat against the evening chill, her heart a tangle of hope and caution. Could a billionaire truly see her, Not as a project or a conquest, but as an equal. The question haunted her sleep, and by dawn, she resolved to guard her heart while testing his promises. Julian had asked for time. She'd give it, but on her terms. Weeks passed and the academy buzzed with its usual rhythm, though Anna's world felt subtly altered. Julian respected her space. His presence at the academy was limited to brief, respectful nods when their paths crossed. Yet his absence amplified his impact. Students whispered of his gala speech, and faculty speculated about his next move. Anna buried herself in teaching, her lessons sharper, her passion a shield. But late one afternoon, a courier delivered a small package to her office, a leather-bound journal, its first page inscribed in Julian's elegant script. For your thoughts, your dreams, no strings attached. J. She traced the words, her resolve wavering, and tucked the journal away, unready to respond. Her routine shifted when Lily, the young student who'd teased her about Julian's feelings, tugged her sleeve after class. "Ms. Lemoyne, there's a surprise in the courtyard," she said, eyes gleaming. Curious, Anna followed, stepping into a scene that stole her breath. The courtyard, usually austere, was transformed. A wooden trellis draped with wildflowers framed a single table, set with mismatched plates and a picnic basket. Julian stood beside it. No tuxedo or pretense, just jeans and a sweater, his smile tentative. "No pressure," he said, gesturing to the table. "Just lunch. A thank you for teaching me." More than etiquette. Anna hesitated, her instinct to flee warring with the warmth in his eyes. "This better not be a grand gesture," she warned, sitting cautiously. He laughed, unpacking the basket. Peanut butter sandwiches, apple slices, and a thermos of tea. "Nothing grand," he promised, "just real." Their conversation flowed, not about wealth or facades, but about small joys. Her love for rainy days, his habit of sketching cityscapes. For the first time, Anna saw not the billionaire, but a man hungry for connection, his guard as low as hers dared to be. The picnic marked a turning point. Anna agreed to see Julian outside Eclat. Their meeting simple, walks through bustling markets, coffee in quiet cafes. Each encounter peeled back layers, revealing a man whose wealth was a tool, not a mask. He spoke of funding clean energy, of mentoring young coders, his passion mirroring her own for teaching. Yet Anna held back, her heart cautious, until a rainy evening when they ducked into a bookstore. As she browsed, Julian slipped a coupon for a poetry collection into her hand. "Saving a few bucks never hurts," he said, winking. She laughed, the gesture so absurdly grounded, it disarmed her. In that moment, she let herself believe in him. Months later, Julian unveiled his grandest act, not of wealth, but of heart. At the Academy's spring assembly, he announced the Anna Lemoyne Scholarship, a fund for students from modest roots, like her own. The crowd applauded, but Anna, standing off stage, felt tears prick her eyes. He'd listened, understood her dream of opening doors for others. When he caught her gaze, his nod was quiet, a promise kept. After the event, she found him in the courtyard, sketching the trellis they'd dined under. "You didn't have to," she said, her voice thick. "I wanted to," he replied, setting his pencil down. "You showed me what matters. People, not power." His eyes held hers, steady, unguarded. Anna stepped closer, her caution melting. "I'm falling for you, Julian," she admitted, the words freeing. "But no empires, no games. Just us." "Just us," he echoed, pulling her into a gentle embrace. The courtyard, once a stage for her doubts, now cradled their beginning. Their relationship bloomed, a quiet defiance of Eclat's glittering world. They planned a future grounded in shared values. Anna crafted a new curriculum, training staff to see every student as a VIP, while Julian launched a corporate savings program inspired by her frugality. One sunny afternoon, They picnicked in a park, the same coupon for ice cream tucked in Julian's pocket. As they laughed over melting cones, Anna realized she'd found not just love, but a partner who saw her soul. The billionaire and the teacher, once worlds apart, had forged a bond stronger than any etiquette lesson, a testament to sincerity's power. What a journey Anna and Julian have taken us on. A story of secrets, sincerity, and love that transcends facades. We hope their tale sparked a smile or a thought about what truly connects us. Drop your thoughts in the comments. What moved you most? Share your city, and let's keep the conversation going. Your voice makes these stories shine. Thank you for joining us, and we can't wait to share another heartfelt adventure with you soon. Subscribe and stay tuned. Until next time.